Hey guys, this is Dusler. I just wanted to explain the Misteria Warp, how it works, and possibly give you an explanation of what you can do to use it in a run. So undoubtedly, if you've played Musashi casually or played through the game, you've come up to this screen. This is right at the beginning of Chapter 3, and we're actually going to save Tim, Hotelo's son. So we head down into the mines in order to grab the Misteria, which is a flower that only blooms at certain times. Now generally, when you go through this game casually, you're going to hop across these platforms, grab the flower, and then go back to the beginning of the stage on the platforms as well. But there's a nifty little trick that we call Misteria Warp that can be done here. So the setup for it has nothing to do with your actual vertical speed conservation or how fast you're moving or anything like that. So once we drop down here, we're going to try and set it up so that we fall off this in a very particular spot. That's not it. And warp back to the beginning of the stage. Alright, here we go. So you can see now that I'm placed back at the beginning of the level and I'm free to run out. So why does this happen, you might ask? So generally, the way that the game works is that you have a designated spawn point from where Musashi falls off of a ledge, so the game knows where he can go. So if we look at a Lewis script that was written by Alec Torn, you can see over here that we have Musashi's current X position, Y position, and Z position. X position being horizontally left and right, Z being up and down, and Y position being the actual height at which Musashi is standing. So if we're down here, you can see that our Y position isn't currently changing, but our X and Z position are. So the spawn point should correlate with the X, Y, and Z positions. And directly underneath it, you'll see we have an X spawn point, Y spawn point, and Z spawn point. Now it's important to understand the way that certain things work in this game. So down here, we're on a flat platform, and our X and Z spawn points are changing as we're running around. Makes sense, we're going to fall off here, our spawn point remains the same, and it puts us back on that exact coordinate. Now if we run up here, you notice my X, Y, and Z position are changing, but my spawn point is staying the same. So there's certain platforms in the game that are angled or on slopes that Musashi actually can't spawn off of. So when I jump down here, you see that it puts me back on the bottom slope. Now if I was to go up here past this crystal, you'll see that once again, in certain areas, my spawn point is changing. So if I were to run down here and jump down, it puts me back up at the top. Now we can actually abuse this at this part in the level. So down here you'll notice that my Y spawn point is 258. So that's the height that Musashi is currently at. And once I go onto this slope, it stays 258. And up here, it's going to fluctuate a little bit because it's an incline. But you can see once I get to about right there, it stops. So now we're at negative 442. So when I fall off the ledge, Musashi goes to those points. Now there's a very, very precise point on this slope that will actually change our spawn point. It's similar to what a pixel would be in a 2D game. I guess it could be a very particular polygon on the edge of the platform here. Now it's kind of tricky to get it, and there's a somewhat consistent setup, but nothing super concrete yet. So we'll try and see if I can get that affected here. Okay, so you see that my spawn point changed to a negative 314, and that puts me back to the beginning of the level. Now reason being is there is no spawn point 314 as far as the Y coordinate is concerned. Now right here is the Y spawn point that we're concerned with. Now if I can get this set up properly, you can actually stand on that exact spot and not fall off, but it's a very, very precise spot. I'll give it a few shots and see if I can get it so you can actually see what we're talking about. But keep an eye on that Y spawn point. That's the important one. Like I said, this is a very precise trick. It's been frustrating Musashi runners for a couple years now because we didn't understand until actually yesterday, which was January 29th of 2016, why or how this trick worked. So you can see I'm falling off here, and I can fall off as much as I want, and that Y spawn point remains the same. It's a negative 451. So that's saying to put me back up at the top of the slope. So there you go. You saw it change to a negative 313. So there's one particular point on that ledge that's very precise that allows you to change that Y spawn point. And the camera pans up to it, but you're not supposed to be able to spawn there. So it reverts back to where you entered the room for whatever reason. That's still not completely understood. But it puts you back at the very beginning of the room. This trick, as I said, is extremely precise. When done correctly, it saves 9.85 seconds over doing the intended route. So essentially, if you're not going for world record attempts, it may not be a trick to go for. But the key things are the Y spawn point must change, and obviously when you're playing on console, or if you're doing emulator runs, you're not going to be able to see that mid-run. The trick itself saves 9.85 seconds, which is a pretty good time save, but without a consistent setup, which currently we're in works of making that possible, you basically have one shot at it before you start losing time by jumping across the platforms. And as I mentioned a couple times, the trick itself is very precise. Hopefully that clears up a couple of things for you guys. If you have any questions, you can PM me on Twitch. You can also hit me up on Twitter or on the STA forums. Just want to say thank you to Alectorn for helping me write the Lewis script and find some RAM addresses so we can further investigate the game. Also, shout out to the Musashi community with Esbarus, Short Circuit, and a few others working behind the scenes. So hopefully that helped you guys out, and good luck running.